Hello. There we go. It was literally working before, but switch the scenes and it's not working again. Hello, and welcome to Factorio. My name's Trismegistus, and this series is my... I don't know what I'm calling it properly. Blueprint series, basically, where I'm working on a set of standardized blueprints for myself. So let's get it loaded up. Where's the actual last episode? Because I've been a bit of a naughty boy. What do I mean by that? Basically, well, first thing we're going to do today is rework these. But last stream, I was working on this. And the intention of this was that it was going to be a Kickstarter base. By that, they did actually do an update for the sound. So what I'm wondering is if I reset this to default and then take that down a bit. So, oh look, they've taken music as the default setting all the way down to 30. I thought it was loud. Is that a bit loud on there? It's possibly a bit loud on there. Let's take it down a notch further. Maybe 75%? So they did adjust some settings. You'll have to give them a bit of welly with the couple of updates, because they've obviously still not saying anything about... Wow, that's loud. What have they done there? Because I thought they turned the sound volume, music volume down, but it's more like they seem to have adjusted the slider so the default is 30. I don't think it's actually any quieter. Hopefully that'll be okay. I'll have to watch it back and see. Sorry, that's a bit of internal business there. Should have sorted that out really before, but I don't know of a way to test streaming. Like, as in, you fiddle about with settings without going live. Seems to be... And that's very quiet. Oh, well, whatever. Somebody, I'm sure, will tell me if the game audio is deafening. What I was saying was that basically I worked this up last stream. And I started... So this is like a Kickstarter, basically. So I did all of the science, very early initial science things and that. All happy with those. Apart from, as I say, the smelters. We're going to tweak that first thing. But I did all of this with the intention that you would sort of plop this down, fill it out, and it would get you all of the stuff basically to make a proper starter base. So this is a Kickstarter base rather than a starter base. Let's fiddle with the camera as well. Yeah. So it makes, a few labs and, engines so that you can make a car. And I made this little garage here. And, there's power poles in there. But it's all the basic stuff. What I then did was I did this and tried to work out how much of each component would be a good input. You notice it has these belts here, which is all a bit messy. Because they're just sort of random locations. Again, the music seems to be massively loud to me. I don't know what they've done there. It's like they've made it louder rather than quieter. But it seems to be way louder than the game audio effects. That's always my problem with it. It's not that it's loud as such, because I can turn it down, my volume sort of thing. It's that you then can't hear like the footsteps or, Anyway, I will sort that out later. But yes, basically, I was trying to work out, well, what do I actually need to build this? And the conclusion I came to, and this was after stream, and that was fine. This isn't the bit I was naughty with. Was that I was going to need basically 1.5 complete rows of iron plate, because half of it needs to get converted into... Well, I'll explain this later. You see, this is so big because it's making all of like the cogs and gears and pipes locally. I sort of decided that was a bad idea in the end. But yeah, so the idea it was always going to feed in green circuits, steel, copper, iron plate, and a mixed stone brick and stone belt. But as you can see, my original thought was that it would fit into this, this same footprint. So you'll be able to basically stamp these next to each other, the same size, easy to do, easy to lay out, etc., etc. As you can see, though, there is no way. I mean, this is not the most space-efficient design, but there's no way this would fit in here. So it was like that idea was out altogether. Then I was like, but this is so horribly messy here. All of this belts in random places. Don't like that. But then I fired it up with these, test things that were in creative mode, by the way, in case you're wondering. So I fired it up with those, and basically what I found is that obviously you wouldn't be putting all of this down at once, but the way I've done it, the assembly machines, which are one of the most important components, are basically last in the chain. I mean, they aren't technically last. Grenades and radars are, but grenades is another one. You want grenades a lot sooner than you want lights and stuff like that. So the way that I put this down is not ideal. There's also a lot of basically redundancy in that I've got a lot of machines making cogs. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 machines making cogs, which is not very efficient at all. And I'm doing stuff like you've got long-handed inserters and all this sort of stuff going on. And so I thought, right, well, what do we actually need to do? And I decided that probably take out cogs and pipes and put them in the construction area rather than have them integrated in here, because it's not at all efficient and not sensible. Because you've got some machines that need loads of them that have no access, or like minimal access, and then others that don't need very many at all, where I've got an entire machine dedicated to them. So it wasn't a very good idea to do. Pipes as well, there's like loads of pipe machines. So I was like, right, well, this isn't a very good layout, so let's work out something a bit more sensible. And let's say this is where I was naughty. I should have streamed this, and basically I've completely reworked the whole idea so that it's a modular system. Now, what I mean by modular is that it's a set of modules that you can put together. And it's these ones here. Why does that... Oh, it has the 2A because I was working on them again. So, which one is it here? Here we go. So, instead of this system, it's basically a set of blueprints that you can put down. So, if we go here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blueprints that you can essentially... They're modular, but not modular, really. You could double them up, is kind of what it really means, rather than modular, or you could leave one out fairly easily. Because I've tried to standardise the inputs along the top, although that's a bit sort of... Because some things don't need some things do need others. You probably wouldn't have multiples, but you could if you wanted. What you would be more likely to do is leave one out. So if you're not playing on a world with biters, or biters are on peaceful or something, you could avoid doing this particular part, the military part. So that's what I mean by modularity, really. So these are the new blueprints, basically. So the first one is this one, and it's the military stuff, basically. So the idea being that if you are on a death world, or you've got biter problems or whatever, you're going to want to defend yourself, and you're going to want to defend yourself fairly quickly. It gives you the option, because it's meant for me, and I like the shotgun, so it's got the shotgun in it, for example. It's got shotgun ammo in it. You may not like the shotgun, so you could take that part out, maybe double up ammo or something like that. You could also use this, even if you're not doing military. It's got radars in it, it's got landfill, and it's got grenades. So for tree clearance, so you'd probably want to put this down, and then if you're not doing, military at all. You can take out the bits and pieces that aren't relevant, but it still works. Is the point? It also goes back to my fundamental way of doing things, where it's horizontal. Oh, sorry, or vertical. But the power poles are in line with everything, and they're taking from belts on the side. The streamlining I've done is to identify which belts they need and have them, as I say, so that you can overlap them. So what you could also do with this is you could put it later, because the next blueprint, I've called it poles, meaning power poles, but basically it fits on the end. So I've used the combinators to tell you which to do. But you see that's the same set. So it's copper, iron plate, green circuits and steel. So the intention with this for my standard one is you put it at the end. Okay, but you could of course put this one in first and put the military later on if it was less of a concern for you. So you could build these first. And also what I've done is that principle I was saying about the things you want first are first in the queue. Pretty much, that's what I've done here. So we've got wooden power poles and then these other ones. So you wouldn't have to fill these out till later. But say the standard way of doing it, or intention, is for it to be plopped on the end. Just like so, landfill is a later technology because you have to research it. But radars, these lot, you have immediately. Or well, turrets you have to research, but it's very quick. Grenades you have to research, but you're going to be doing them quite early if you actually want them. But I say walls and landfill are more important. I've also tried to prioritise so that you're going to want ammo before you want landfill. Tried to do it like that. So that will be the second one that you plop down. There's a little note here, effectively, to say this: you have to manually feed in wood for the power poles and the boxes. But otherwise, it's the same stuff basically coming down here. So these aren't needed anymore for these, but the copper, iron plate, and steel, and it's actually the green circuits, I think. Oh no, steel for the power poles as well. Do continue down. So that's the second one. The third one is this one, and this is assembling machines. Now you could skip straight to this. You see, if you're willing to happily make power poles yourself, you can literally go straight to this. But it overlaps with the military one, so it is separate to these. You couldn't, you could sort of reuse one side of it, if you see what I mean. Does that make sense? But you see, it doesn't align with the cogs, and the gears are on the wrong lane effectively. But you could rework it fairly easily. But it overlaps there, and this then gives you the production stuff. So you could launch straight in and build this one. Yeah, you could have that one straight off. That's your Kickstarter base. If you're not fussed, if you're hand making power poles and you want to, you're going to make a proper build for those later on, you can go straight for this one. So after you've laid down the initial science, this one does work as your number one production. It also has in it separate production for cogs and pipes. So although you've got a belt coming in that is cogs and pipes, which I am actually dragging from there, it's got separate production. So effectively you don't need to be reliant on putting these into a chest somewhere else. It does do that in a later blueprint earlier in the chain. But you could just feed in, iron plate, basically. And in other words, you could make an iron plate up here and you could get it to output gears and pipes on that belt there, you see. So that gives you options effectively about how you want to do it. Or, if you took this out here and this out here, it would still work, because you could replace that, make it a pass-through. That one's already a pass-through, but that one isn't, because this eats them a lot too quickly, so that is separate. But you could make that a pass-through, no problem. And so you would need gears for these and pipes for these and gears for those, but it's up to you sort of how you do it, sort of thing. The next one is belts. Now this one does overlap better. What you could do if you wanted is, so this is the the manufacturing one, and this overlaps modularly with this in that you can plop it basically. I mean, you might have to change them into long-handed inserters or something if you wanted to put it further up, but you could easily plop it on this side. Oops. Like that or something. In fact, let's line the power poles up so it's a bit neater. So you could plop it on that side, and that's the same stuff. So that is the correct thing to go in there, and but it also tiles on this side because they're reversed essentially, the order that they're coming in. I mean, they're not, but they are obviously. I mean, you couldn't put it on the bottom, although you could probably, well, you could flip it, but then it wouldn't match basically. But that's sort of what I'm meaning by modularity, in that you've also got the option, so being modular, that you could put 2 of these down maybe. You could have 2 belts of that. You probably don't need quite as many labs as that, but if you wanted loads and loads and loads of belt really quickly, or to prioritise belt production, you could use that there. But the intention of it, the default, is that, and it makes belts. And say, it is quite, you can probably reverse these. Bit of fiddling about would probably be required, but you could reverse them. So you could make the belts first, or you could just lay this down and it makes belts. It does cheekily make some labs on the end as well, but you could always take that bit out. The next bit then is the inserters, and the inserters, is that right? Yeah, the inserters just go on the bottom. So you've got the option, to do those the other way around. So if inserters are more a priority, do them first, and then overlap the power poles, and then the belts. So it's up to you which you do first, because if you're using my science builds, you have of course already got production of both. There, you've got production of both basic belts and basic inserters. So up to you which is more of a priority. Let's get back down to these again. That's boxes, inserters. Oil then is at the end because it would be much later. And the idea is that this blueprint, you use the red and green science one to do basically all of the text you need to unlock everything on this. None of them require blue science. And basically you then do this oil blueprint, and that gives you the things to extract and process oil, and that gets you to blue science. So what we're going to do next properly is a build that, so you could do it earlier, you don't have to do it in this order, but that does science for, it does basically red, green, military and blue science to get you bots basically. So let's get the tech. So it would be, is it robotics? The tech's called robotics. There you go. So you would be doing robotics science, and that would get you construction robots and logistics robots, and that's sort of effectively where that base will end. It probably needs to include logistics in order to make that sort of really effective, I would say, but I think we may not do that and we'll just stop at robotics, and it gets you the construction bots, because the construction bots get you the 2 key chests, so the red chests and the yellow chests, so that you can then use them to build. So effectively bots kick in and they will build you your main base, which will be another set of blueprints. But that's sort of where I'm sort of thinking of trying to get to today/tomorrow. What we'll then do is we'll test it. Whether that'll be tomorrow, I don't know, probably next week, but yeah, so that is the idea. So this one here drops in the middle, so it fits nicely into that sort of gap there. There are a few things like this where basically this is me hiving off some of the, so this is bricks I think would go in there, might be the stone, it's probably the bricks I would have thought, but finding places to put in just little grab bags for materials. Because of course you've got the existing, you've got my little blueprint that will get you stone and stone brick on a stone patch. So you wouldn't need them, but this gives you the option of replacing that or adding to it, with actual mining on the patch that you then feed into the next part. So after that then is this one, which this is the connectors basically. So this is the bits and pieces that you need. You need to take these out. Doesn't work if they're there. But it sort of moves them further down the chain, if you see what I mean. So once I plop this in, you see they've then got the connectors there. So they're the same ones. It's just set up so that it gets what it needs, basically, coming down each row. Again, you could do it however you want. You could set up proper smelting and feed it in. But this basically is a connector. So actually first we should have the defences. I really love this idea of a garage, so I've maintained that. We also had this gap, basically. There is still a gap here, but we had a bit of a gap here. It was like, this was too long in a sense. So it was like, well, I might as well maintain that idea. And also the engines are literally here. So if you were making your first car, you'd probably be doing it literally here. So I thought that was a good place to be. Also gives us, I say, a little bit of space here if you wanted to jerry-rig something together, a bit of construction there. You've got a bit of safe, protected space to do that. So actually I've put this too close, haven't I? That was dumb of me. So if I move that over, move it over, we'll plop that back on top, like that. It's sometimes weird, it doesn't give any noise, even though you're doing the thing. Right, and this then is the next. So my idea here is what you could do is you could use be doing pathing, you see. So you could be putting paths on. So you could have a 4x4 path here, and you would connect it up like this. So it's up to you, sort of thing. I've not got any blueprints for this, but you do that, or you could literally connect the two of them together. So it literally goes next to it there. I mean, you could put it there if you really wanted, but my idea was that you would be that's right, isn't it? Yeah, you would be putting that slightly further over, so you got a path to run down. If you put them next to each other, you've got completely redundant turrets, really, but that's fine. So this then is basically this, but set up properly and set up in a nice contained space. And you see it now does sort of fit in a blueprint. But you also see this is basically that. Let's shit. Wouldn't really fit in there. I mean, it would just about, but not really. And that was the problem, basically. So if I was going to have the two that are the same size, it didn't fit. So now it does fit in the same space as this. And in fact, it's slightly smaller. So in fact, it's lined up with the top of this. So if you were doing something different, you could do something different here as well. I don't know why you would want to, because this is producing the stuff for this. But it produces basically what this needs. And it does do a bit of looping round and stuff. We've basically got 1.5 belts worth of iron production. And then once I've put the connectors on the top, a lot of it is circulated back. So it then turns it into cogs, pipes, circuits, and steel. So it ends up being like about 3/4 of a lane of iron comes over here, and the rest of it sort of gets converted into gears, pipes, circuits, etc., etc. You then got a small amount of production. So these are telling you where to put things in. You can put one of these in as half a lane. In fact, I think shouldn't matter because of how I've done it. But this one should be a solid lane, and this one should be a half lane, is kind of how I've done it. But so it sort of doesn't matter, I think, if I've got it all right. It is a bit weird, this. I'm not going to lie. It's a bit odd, but it all works. But basically then you've then got, I can't remember which way around it is actually. I think it's copper first and then the stone bricks. I think the stone bricks might be that bit because a lot of the copper goes into the circuits. And then basically everything comes out the top with a connector like that. Same idea. You'll notice some chests in this. This is grabbing things like iron plates, copper plates, circuit, gears, pipes, etc. for personal use, not gears and pipes, but for personal usage if you wanted to come and grab them. And then obviously next part is then the defences for this. So you could put these fairly distant apart if you wanted. You don't have to have them next to each other. So where does this line up? There we go. Is that right? Yeah, that looks right. So that's then both of them defended with roughly the same size. This is wider, but not massively so. So what I'll do, I'll hook this up and sort of show it working. Let's get them over here. Right there. Is everyone connected? Yeah. So all we need to feed in... In fact, did I get rid of the... I did. All we need to feed in are these. And you actually only need like half a lane of copper. And it does work with half a lane of stone. Because you don't need very many of them, much of them at all. So we can put them in... Oops. Them in there if I can get the right thing. Like that. It's then I mean, you put in about a coal. You don't really need about a coal, but it's more for the fact that I'm splitting it and half laying it and all. Oh, it was a void chest, wrong sort of chest. Half laying it and all this sort of stuff. Now, so I think this one needs to be the full lane, but also fairly confident it should cope with either. But we'll put a half lane in here. Like that, and then we'll copy that. Like that. Say it should work, I think. Fingers crossed. It might be the other way around. It looks like it's the other way around. It's the other way around. So this one should be the half lane. I was trying to think of ways of representing that. I'm not sure I've really cracked it as such. Oh, got that. Yeah, so this is the full lane because it needs to go on the two halves there. There we go. And then this is half lane because it's just been halved. I mean, you could put a full lane in, but it's only really going to draw half a lane. Yeah, it's the coal that's being magically transported all over the place. It's all a bit sort of spaghetti for the coal. And I say what happens. Basically, what happens is it comes in, and you've got 1.5 lanes of iron plate that is then smelted. Sorry, iron ore that is then smelted into coal. The coal does take a while to get up here. I'm not going to lie. Is that right? That seems not quite right. But yeah, it does take a while to get up. But the sort of thing with it, and there is like wastage and stuff. But the thing with it is, one of the things I found with the Blueprint in a Book series that I'd never really appreciated is you don't really need very much coal at all. It's it's only it's not even half a lane. And it's slowly creeping up here, without being pulled across into the things. And this is with there's 5 bits of coal in there. And here you see this copper. It's not. I mean, it's not probably running because this isn't all filled up. But so the iron plate comes in and is all smelted, and then this arrangement here basically ensures that it prioritises putting iron plate down back into the system, right? But it's sort of with the caveat that there's half a lane being produced here. So this will, it won't need to put a full lane down here because there's already iron plate being produced. but also the amount being drawn away from the iron plate is more. It's all a bit. It does eventually work, but it's a bit complicated. So effectively, the iron plate is then being pulled down here and turned into gears, pipes, green circuits. Obviously, the iron plate is being drawn across. Tried to minimise the amount of long-handeds as much as I could, because obviously they're slightly more intensive to produce. This is the sort of heavy area for the long-handeds, which is the steel production. You see, it's quite slow to start with, but eventually, as this really, here we go. So it's really starting to kick in here. When this backs up, and it will back up, it will then start pushing it down, and we'll get more of the peripheral materials. And it does that thing where it's like two things balancing, because one gets heavily produced and backs up, and the other gets blocked and isn't being used, so it it demands it. So it sort of eventually evens itself out. Obviously, you probably wouldn't be. The idea actually is you would build this first, because you've got in the stone one and the science Kickstarter, you've basically got everything to build this. It should give you and the stone one. So it gives you the smelters. It gives you so you would probably have to handcraft those machines, but you wouldn't be putting this down, and this wouldn't be complete when this starts. So basically, you would have this running and probably all filled out before you even say put down the oil stuff, because you wouldn't have the technology. You would have to research the technology, and this stuff with the thing. So these belts wouldn't be as long. I mean, you could fill them out if you wanted, but you wouldn't have all of this stuff. It would be more backing up. And as I say, you could do it in a different order. You could do these first. And you can always, because they're blueprints, you can lay them down and then fill out the bits you want. So that's half an hour of me explaining all the stuff I was doing. What I actually ended up doing, because I got carried away. And it wasn't my intention to do all this in my personal time, but you see how they're backing up. Look, you see. So the green circuits will eventually back up. Yeah. So it does work eventually. There you go. So the iron plate is now backed up on the lanes, even though it is being used. It's not being used. But that will then push more down here, which will get us more of everything else, you see. So it's that sort of thing. But yeah, what I actually did, I switched over to playing Dyson Sphere program and sort of did the grind on that of some of the scaling up. Because there's kind of a risk I was going to finish all of these, well, I wouldn't have finished them, but do a load of the blueprints and it wasn't on stream, and that's the whole point of doing it on stream. So yeah, I think you can see that it does work, or it's going to work, when we eventually get cogs properly flowing through the system. And some of these obviously will fill up as well, and you won't, it wouldn't be as slow to produce belts. And I say you're already producing belts. There you go. So we got 32 underground belts already. And I say you would already have a bunch of this stuff. Right, so what we're going to do properly now, today, is rework these, because I said this before on the stream last week, that, and these were the blueprints for them, so we'll ceremoniously, these were the old ones. This is what I got it to with the last week, and then as you saw, I was working out, well, how much iron do I actually need, and ended up with, something twice as big. This was obviously the higgledy-piggledy messy. The other thing with it is there's loads of power poles. I mean, a ridiculous number of power poles in there, and they're really messy, and it's difficult to lay them out. Whereas with my other design, what you can actually do filling out the blueprint is just like run down the lanes. So if you've got all the power poles and you run down, because the thing they've got with the blueprints of filling it out, only if it's there, it's well easy to put in the power poles. So that's another advantage of that. Look, I've convinced myself it's better, so you'll have to take it as read. And there you can see them higgledy-piggledy mess with the power piles. So yeah, they're all gone. All that streaming last week. It was very useful though as an exercise to work out what I was doing badly. Just like this, it was useful doing these, even though I've ended up doing. We decided to do them differently. Stop that flashing. Oh. So the problem with these is basically this gap, because when I worked out how many beacons I wanted in order to get the effect I wanted, because the idea was to basically compensate for the prod modules. Basically, that was all I was really after. But that wasn't. You couldn't really do that properly. So there is a bit of extra material production. And what I normally do is I slap down a load of beacons, and then there's this whole faff of trying to get the material out, because it obviously fills up a belt with like a third of the beacons if you have full-on beacons on it. So I put these extra lanes in down here with the intention that that's where that would go. But then I did the maths, and basically you don't need very many of these at all. And what we can actually do is underground them along here, and it's perfectly fine and good. It needs to be along there, doesn't it? Yeah, so we don't need this extra lane here, right? But what the removal of that extra lane does as well is means that I can, if we squeeze it in, this becomes a more viable way of doing it. So we want these, and it also, if we do this with the steel power poles, we can just keep them basically, because there's upgrade to fast there. You don't need fast, but we can just keep these in, and because it's now there's gaps basically in here, we don't need substations to cover the fact that. So even though we're going to put it right close, if you imagine this was full on beacons along here, you would have nowhere to put these power poles, and they can't reach. They're not got enough coverage to reach across. So you would have to make gaps or put. Well, that's why the other reason that this belt space here is there. But we don't need to do that because we've got plenty of space to do undergrounds. So say we're going to rework these, and what we're going to do effectively is squeeze everything in one tile. So I need to find these. Where are they? In fact, let's take them out of the blueprint book. So it's that one, that one, that one, that one. Yeah, so the first one is the stone. Let's work them backwards though. So we'll go with that one. Let's get it so it's not flashing anymore. And what we actually want to do is essentially copy the steel power poles and put those over the top. Well, it might be a little difficult to see because it doesn't like the red belt. So we've got the power pole on the first one and the third one. First one and the third one. Yeah, okay. So we're happy with that. What we then want, basically, is we can cut and paste that. And it wants to line up with that still. So we put it there. Okay. And then we can cut out, or rather delete that bit. Cut and paste this. Make sure it's lined up with that. And then we can take these guys out. Okay. And then we want to work out where we can get power poles in. Is it... Because it'd be nice if it wasn't too bad a pattern. So if we do sort of a diamond sort of a pattern there. Does that make sense? Or rhomboid, I suppose that is, or something like that. And then there. Should be able to do similar at the bottom at the very least. So that one. that one. Because you do need them. I mean, you can do them alternates. You can do it sort of a zigzag pattern. Doesn't make a lot of difference, really. So those two are missing. Okay. In fact, maybe I should do the zigzag. If we were to do that, because it does reduce the amount of material you need. What happens? No, you see, you can't power everything if you do that. But we've got power poles on the outside, haven't we? So maybe we could make that more deliberate. Oh, so you're not powered. That's a bit annoying. Why are you not powered? You're not powered because... Could I move that down? Is that better? That's unpowered then, isn't it? But that one is. Why? Oh, because of that there. So we've got one that isn't powered. That's a bit inconvenient. So if this was... So that would be sort of there-ish maybe, would it? And then that would be on the other side. I'm actually wondering... No, you can't do that. So why is it powered at the top, but not at the bottom? So you've got that one there, that one there. Is it because I've moved it up? So if that was there... Yeah, I'm not being consistent with where those power poles are, am I? So it's da-da and da-da, 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 and da-da, da-da, and da, da, da-da, 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 and there is one missing. We could always have a thing where we connect like large power poles. So where would that actually be? It would be... Let's see if I can't copy it down. So if that was that one, it'd be 3 tiles down. No, that would be there, wouldn't it? So then that's the one that's missing. So as I say, we could have a thing where we connect, we have a sort of connecting large power pole. Maybe. Actually in the blueprint. Okay, so that's the thing hole powered, and we've reduced the number of power poles, so that's good. We might have a risk that these won't power all of the things, but we could always include those in the previous blueprint, if you see what I mean. Now, if this comes down the middle, what's a good place? That's too far. So if this is sort of maybe there. So do I want it always that length? Would that work? So if it was that one, is that right? So it's that one without that one. That one but without that one. And then... Oops. And then the output is there. What I could do, I could have a prioritized splitter. No, I think I'll leave that, as it were, in a sort of a do whatever you want with it sort of a way, I think. We should also do stone as well, because stone is a completely different, it's like half the size. Okay, yeah, so this is our new, or hopefully this is our new one of these. We don't want that power pole, but we need to change the tiling. How does the tiling want to be now? I guess it needs to be 12 wide? No, 13 wide. And what do we want for the top and the bottom? I guess this should be... Is it 82? No. 81. That's a bit of a weird number. No, 82 it is. Okay. So does it tile... If you were plopping this down, making more smelting... You know, for at the end game, that works, doesn't it? We have a bit of a weird overlap with them. Do we want to fix that? Can we fix that? So if this was there, would it would. Ah. Even better. Even better. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Works with the undergrounds as well. That's very cool. I like it. Whoops. So if we get rid of sort of all of that rubbish and tweak this. Get rid of you. Okay, does it tile now? So you would plop it down there. Think that works? Think that's okay? I like it. Right, so get rid of those two. Next one, like the previous version then, is basically without these for definite. Right. Does have prods in it, but prod ones. So we could so this all needs... See, this is still a bit, you know, a bit messy, I'm totally honest. And then this needs reversing. And then we want to swap out prod ones. Will it just let me do that? No. Will it let me use an upgrade planner? Oh, I've already got one. Will it let me do that? So if I do 3:1s, yeah, it seems happy. So everyone's got a level one. Oh, level 1. Cool. We would assume these would... In fact, let's do that as well. So you'd be still on... Other way around. You would still be on fasts, I think. Still be on regulars rather than fast. I've got... It has like cheaty construction bots, because some of the things it sort of won't do automatically, like replacing the modules. But these run at like, well, it says there 21,600 plus 65,000. So they run at, they're like faster than the speed of light. So you can't actually, you just see them re-entering the port. So it's all powered and it all works. It's got prod 1s in. Prod 1s don't sort of slow. So technically this wouldn't actually produce a full belt because they do slightly slow them down 10%. But it's so close that it's like no real difference. And you could always add in, because this is the, because I could put the level 1 beacons on. We could have them on and they're just level 1 speeds. But I didn't want this blueprint to be that, because I need to. It's a red belt, you see, as well. And swapping out. Yeah. Okay. I think we will go with that. So, we need to tweak this again. We don't want -2. Why is that on -2? So that wants to be... Oh, it does want to be -1 though. And then width of 16? That doesn't seem to make sense. No, it would be 13. And then this is 82 again, presumably. We don't want that. Because we want it to tile in such a way that there's space to put the bacons in. Which is that power pole gap there, basically. The other thing I could put in some of that, you see, I err on the side of not putting like radars in because it sort of doesn't really work properly. You have to kind of have to do it manually. But is that okay? I think that works, doesn't it? Yeah, seems to. Right, so the one before it is the steel. Now you would be on steel power. No, you wouldn't. You would be on wooden power poles. Right, so we need to get rid of some stuff here. So we need to get rid of no, we need to get rid of steel power poles. We also might as well, if we get rid of the actual electric furnaces, all bar the top ones, I think. Yeah. So if I then grab, have I got any? Yeah. So where is that? It's aligned with the top, isn't it? There we go. So it needs to be there. Yeah. So we then have to do this slightly fiddly thing. I could do the power poles first, but sort of doesn't matter. Okay, copy that up. I never know on these whether it's worth chatting about. I tend to focus very, very heavily on the actual game itself, which it's kind of me. I'm not the greatest at sort of small talk and stuff, but I do sometimes wonder if it'd be worth chatting about some other stuff. But I tend to play the games. There's enough going on usually that I kind of don't have to wibble on about rubbish. So, hang on, sorry. So, let's put this in. I just mentioned that because obviously this was the week that... Wrong one. Microsoft bought ActiveBliz, or announced... I think people... I guess it's a different sort of thing in America, really, but it's been kind of reported basically in a it's a done deal type of way. In the UK, the Competition Commission is a bit more... What's called the Competition Commission is a bit more... has a bit more bite to it. It's still a bit soft, but... so it's sort of... not there, is it? It's there. That's the grid. But yeah, in the UK... it would undergo scrutiny. I mean, the US has a similar thing. Their equivalent of a competitions commission. But in the UK, it would be an actual step. In the US, it seems to be a bit more of a... It's just automatically assumed it's pretty much going to go through. Because people have been saying, it's like... Is it a monopoly, basically? So, wouldn't Microsoft end up completely controlling games, essentially? As an industry, and they wouldn't. So, and that's not, in order for them to have a monopoly, Steam would have to, they'd have to buy Steam and PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation's actually closer to a monopoly, but they'd have to own, or Sony would have to go out of business, that sort of thing. So it's not really a monopoly. So it's pretty much guaranteed it's going to go through, but. In the UK, they would be a bit more circumspect about it, but because they've just announced the intention to do it. It's not actually a done deal for quite until it passes that regulatory approval. And as I say, that would be more of a significant step in the UK, but I'm pretty, they'd get it signed off. And actually, the thing where Microsoft was done for Internet Explorer, that was a monopoly thing, because they were trying to basically get rid of the competition by essentially making it so that, well, how to put it, Internet Explorer was installed by default in such a way that, with no indication that if you were new to the computers, as it were, you wouldn't know of the existence of anything else because of how Microsoft had done it. The implication was that the internet was Internet Explorer in how they put it together. And they obviously got found foul of that and had to pay competition, and it doesn't seem to do it so much now. Maybe it's because I've not installed a new version for a while, but it comes up and says basically now at the start, there are all these internet browsers. Which one do you want? And that's why. It's because they effectively had attempted to create a monopoly. So I don't think they'll fall foul of that again. But yeah, quite a big purchase, 68.7. But a lot of people are rounding it up to 70 billion. And it kind of shows you that it's like the difference between... So it's one of those problems. It's why capitalism's in a bit of a state, if I'm honest. That, I mean, a billionaire, $1 billion is ridiculously bigger than $1 million. But not. It's like almost like a logarithmic action. In that, but so, and you're adding basically 3 zeros on. But it's very difficult for humans to sort of understand those sorts of numbers. And it tends to be, how can I put it? So it's like, because it's adding 3 zeros basically, and it tends to feel the same as going from like, say, £10 to £10,000, but it's not. It is not the same as adding zeros on. So people are rounding up to 70 billion. That's 1.3 billion extra dollars. That's not a sensible rounding. Even going up to 69, nice, is not a sensible rounding of 60. That's in the wrong place then, isn't it? Where does that actually need to be? There. Okay, let's tweak those blueprints to do that. It was 2 tiles further up, wasn't it? So if we do that, so that ideally needs to be 1, 2 there, and then that 2 there. So let's redo those 2. But yeah, so yeah, they bought them, or they've announced the intention to purchase for 68.7 billion, which is an almost unfeasible amount of money. I say almost incomprehensible, and it's not actually how it's done. It's done on the share price, so it's basically the dollar share price, and that's what they will have worked on, and that's how they tend to look at the things, because you just can't get your head around that sort of a number. So if you look at it more from a point of view of saying it's $95 per share, then that's much easier to sort of comprehend. And it's something like 45%, I think, or 45 cents, or $45 rather, above the share price. Because it's, again, another thing, it's like you wouldn't sell. So this needs to be -1, doesn't it? Again. You wouldn't sell it for the price that it's worth, so you have something called a market cap. But you wouldn't actually sell it's a bit like if you've got a precious item, as it were. That must be 13 again, isn't it? Or, something that's of value to you. You're not going to sell it for the recommended retail price. You're going to sell it for more because it has sentimental or other values to it. Although they're looking on future return value, because effectively, I mean, Microsoft is a publicly traded company, obviously, but it essentially switches it from from one set of owners to another. So you're effectively saying, well, what dividend could I get next year and the year after and blah blah blah, versus just selling it now, and that's why it's always a lot more than the current price, because if you didn't sell it, you would get dividends for the next 5 years, sort of thing, until you matured that investment. So yes, that's why it's always, ActiveBiz isn't worth that. It's worth sort of 2/3 of that, basically. But that's not what you would sell it for. It's a very strange thing. But yeah, it's getting to the stage where Game Pass is like, actually let's check that does tile properly. Is like almost ridiculous. It's sort of, what does that need to look like? So it's basically the same, but replace blue belt, yellow belt there. I do have Game Pass, but it's getting a bit sort of like, because like I bought Hitman 3 because I've already got Hitman 1 and 2 on Steam, and that gives me access to the PC VR and that sort of thing. But it also came to get the whole Hitman trilogy came to Game Pass, and it's like, and they were charging full price for the, well, they're not actually, but basically full price for it. And it's like, well, isn't that a bit redundant, me doing that? And it's getting Death's Door came on. That's a game I've wanting to try for a while. And say it's all a bit sort of. So this must be again be -1. This must be 13. It's like, do you bother buying things, or do you wait a couple of months, see if they come to Game Pass? It's a completely different mindset, really. Right, so are these now what I want? I'm going to leave them there for the time being. So it tiles. Yeah. You put, blooming flashing. You put coal in. In fact, let's test it then. So if this was a chesticle of coal, so that needs copying up there, like that. So if this is coal, over, and this is whichever, iron plate, copper, whichever. So they're all functioning. That's good. Just want to see it go all the way down, basically. But totally honest, I think, as a thing, I'm not massively interested in many, because this WoW obviously never really got into MMOs full stop. So that's not of interest to me. StarCraft, that's certainly, I'd love to see a new StarCraft. I know it's still massive in Asia and stuff. It's a massive esport, StarCraft, but I haven't played it in donkey's years. So StarCraft 3 would be amazing. Why am I going through there? So if that was that, so that's, actually put that where it's not connected. There we go. So this would then be the next one. What else? Call of Duty. Used to play them. Yeah, that looks okay. And then next one. Used to play them, you know, when they would come out and stuff. So yeah, you would need to... that's a point actually. If you were adding them on extra, that would be in the way. But then, if you're putting these in, you have to get rid of that anyway. So it's not a big difference. And you could put them in, you know, if you were just plopping that on top or something. I don't know why you'd be doing that. Then it would get the power poles in that you need there. But, you know, if there's still coal here, that's fine, I think. But then the next one. But yeah, I you know, used to play Call of Duty, but never really the multiplayer. I'm just, my reaction speed is not good enough to be a Twitch shooter, so not really the multiplayer. And that's what most people play on it, you see. So Warzone, played Warzone a lot, particularly. It's good timing with that. With oh yeah, you're going to end up with gaps though, aren't you? That's all fine though, I think. I think what I really need is a set of upgrade blueprints for them. But we'll see. It's tricky because what would you actually be doing with them? Do you know what I mean? It's like you're not going to have bots at that stage. I mean, I suppose there's that. You couldn't get... Well, you could get bots in because there's gaps for them. Would you able to get roboports in there? Have I even got roboports on my list? Must have. There we go. So yeah, roboports would fit in here to let you upgrade it. You'd probably have to like underground them over here or something. Or do something funky. But you could still... Or would they go in there? No. Would it fit at the top and the bottom? Yeah, I mean, you could stick them at the top and bottom. Well, that's a point. Why has it not got... Why have they not got the power poles on the bottom? That one has. Oh, they have. It's just been weird. Okay. Yeah, you could stick them on the top and the bottom and it would have the same... Because it's covered by the construction area. So, that's not too much of a problem. Okay, so happy with that. You see some of these are still chunking away. It does take them a while with like the steel. But I say they're much later in the game. Okay, so that's that. The next part then is the base that takes you from this sort of super duper simple Kickstarter up to bots. I'd like to keep it at the same sort of size in terms of, you know, like width, as it were, as this. You know, constrain it within this sort of size. If we can't do that, I'm not that bothered. But it'd be nice to have it sort of fit within, you know, within the same sort of dimensions. And particularly nice to reuse the doors. So we'll plop them in the anticipation that 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That will be possible. Cool. Right, so we'll work on... So, how am I going to do this? Because what would be the extra machines that you would want? So you would want... let's just chuck some power on so these don't flash. Like that. Powerhouse. Okay, so what else would you want? I guess actually I should put some blues on as well because are blues in this list? Because there's something you can't make in this unless you use blues. Is that right? Because you can't do fluids into... No, so you need to do electric... Yeah, there you go. You see electric engines. Can you do robot frames? I can do robot frames there. That's interesting. But yeah, if it needs fluids, you need to use a blue one nowadays. Okay, so what would we be wanting to make? So the idea is to get you up to blue science. So we're going to need to make blue science, which is going to need red circuits. Oh, chemical labs as well. I forgot about them. You're obviously going to need some chemical plants. So we're going to need, you know, sulfuric acid and plastic. Is that all you need? That's all you need. So we're also going to make military science. So we would need piercing ammo, which needs firearm magazines. Grenades and walls, okay. Because I'm thinking we'll try and... Oh, hello, Crazy Bacon here. What this? This is my... welcome back, by the way. Are you having a good day? This is a series where I'm attempting to build... So I don't have... I mean, if you mean more generally, this is Factorio. It's actually creative mode mod, which is why I've got these weird bits and pieces. It's effectively like a design mode, cheat mode, something along those lines. And it lets me... I'm planning out blueprints, basically. So I've not got a standard set of blueprints. I think... You weren't here I explained this before. But I've not really got... I don't have a My Blueprints thing where it's got like a standard set of blueprints in. Because I enjoy designing the game, but I tried to do a mega base and it took me so long because I was spending, or a big part of why it took so long, I was spending so long designing everything from scratch. And I say I enjoyed doing that, so I didn't mind, but it made the series like twice as long. So I'm trying to do that and build up some sort of standardised blueprints. I've not really been organising them properly, they're all sort of thrown in together yet. But this base that I'm working on next is a base that gets you up to bots. So I've got a sort of super... I should leave them around so that when people drop in... In fact, let's plop some of them in. So I've got sort of some super basic blueprints for like coal, you know, coal power and sort of a system where you can make a very, you know, small amount of red and green science like that. Let's see if I can get... What's there? Stop it flashing. And then I did it off stream, which was naughty of me. But I then... Oh, you're not connected either. Oh no. No, that's the old one. I need to get rid of that. This is what I designed last time. And basically I completely redid it. And this is the new Kickstarter base. So it makes like a little bit of everything for you to make this base. So it's got like assembly machines in it and pipes and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just working out... I've been reworking the smelting setup. But I'm just working out what I need in this. So we're going to need to do blue science. So if we want to get up to robotics with this starter base, then we need robotics. So we need blue science because we want, you know, logistics bots and construction bots, and that's where you would kind of end it. You would then, you know, in the next phase of the base is like a main bus style, basically. But this gets you the robots so that you don't have to manually lay down a billion belts for your main bus. Okay, so we need blue science. There's also military science in there. So blue science is sulfur, red circuits. We'll assume you make green circuits, because it's like two things where it's like the raw things, but it's got like cogs and pipes and green circuits. So assume we'll do, maybe that gets doubled up, or maybe there's a separate production, or maybe the assumption is you put in your proper smelting, maybe. I mean, that would make some sense. So if you put in your proper smelting, what you probably do is also upgrade it as part of this base, so it would go, more production. That probably makes some sense. Yeah, I quite like that idea. What else are you going to have? So you need walls and grenades. So I think grenades are going to end up being like the most made item in the base. Where the heck are grenades? There they are. Walls. So if but they're being used ready for science because you've got the starter base, so that's got them on there. I guess we could hive some of them off, so that if you were having, that makes sense. That we'll store some of them as well, because then you can upgrade your defences, make more defences, that sort of thing. And you probably need them to clear biters at this stage. So having red ammo is probably a good idea. Full stop. Yeah, okay. What else? So we would also then obviously want to be doing red science. So that's the basics. We would want to be doing green science. So you're going to need inserters and belts. So those are the bits. So we're not going to. It's not going to be massive volumes of science. It's not a proper, thing you can lay down to do your full scale science. It's just the science you need to get you to bots, and then you make a proper base. Obviously, you could do more blue sciences with it, but we're not going to aim for like 1 a second or anything like that. Now, what else do you need in terms of making your, your proper base? Probably rail stuff is going to be of some use at this stage. You're probably going to want to be tapping, even if your patches are still going, your basic ones. Those aren't big patches, and that's a fair distance away, but you'd probably be heading out getting bigger patches, so it's probably rail stuff needs making, which is going to be locomotives. So you would need engines then. And I guess we should put both carriages in. Well, you definitely want cargo wagons. Would you put would you have fluid wagons? I'm going to say no. Not as part. You could hand make a few, but I'm going to say no on fluid wagons. I think maybe pumps would be useful though. That's a debatable one as well. Signals. I'm not going to make train stops. You can sort of hand make train stops. You'd have like, what, coal, iron, copper, stone, maybe uranium. So it's 10 stations. So I don't think that's worth setting up a factory to make them. At this stage we could, I think I'm going to make the assumption, it's tricky though, isn't it? Because what you could do to this base is come and upgrade it, and as this one as well. Because the question really is whether I'm going to assume that you would make this. Because things like these, they're being made here. But do I also include them in this? I think what I may do, because this is the way I did this. It was sort of modular. You could put down as many of these or as few of them as you want. So I think what I'll do is effectively, we'll focus on the new things or the things you're going to want in even bigger volume. But then we'll also work up a new version of this for bigger scale production that you could either, if you didn't make this, you could make the next one, as it were, and it would give you these items. Because things like, say, assembly machines, you know, where the heck are they? There they are. But it's level 1s, and it wouldn't be easy to make level 2s here. So you could pull that up, you know, and we'll have level 2s being made here. But then we're making all the belts, so we don't need to make them again. Because you'd probably have a bit of red belt though, wouldn't you? If you're upgrading to steel furnaces. Need to think about that one. Anyway, got distracted. Train stuff, that's all fine. Oh, the actual rail itself. So you wouldn't really be at substation level. Wait, this does make... Yeah, so you've got all your steam turbine stuff. But it would probably be... I think we're saying no, you wouldn't use solar panels and accumulators in for this base. You would still be burning coal. And they're part of the next the next phase. I mean, that's not actually how I play, though. I would start laying down solar panels and, well, solar panels at the least. Okay, so let's include them. That's what I would normally do. So we do need batteries. What else? Obviously we need blue assembly. In fact, I shouldn't put these here, because this is all the stuff to make the science. Let's make these over. Oops. Like that. So that's all the rail stuff that I would suggest you make. If you need tanks and, you know, stuff like that, I guess we could have like steel chests. Because you're going to eventually want... If the idea is to get a base that you can use robots to then, you know, fill out a blueprint for a main bus, then you're going to want... Well, I guess you could have both. And you would have that technology because construction bots get you... Yeah, so you get both red and yellow chests. So you could, you know, replace them basically. Yeah, okay. Oops. And you need steel chests for rail, which is why I put it there. What else? What else? Would you want anything else military-wise? I mean, you've got shotgun shells and you've got firearms, you've got piercing rounds. If you're going tank, it's not... I mean, I would build a tank at this stage as well. But do I want it? I don't think I want a blueprint. Because I build a tank, but I don't use cannon shells particularly. But I know a lot of people quite like them. So maybe that's included. I tend to go more with flamethrower ammo. So I think we should have that instead. Yeah, let's say at this stage you add in... Oh, I've just handmade it rather than... You add in... So I put it over here because it's with the military stuff, but it is separate to them. Oh no, I can't. You do it in a blooming chemical plant now, don't you? There we go. What am I... Is there anything I'm not making? There's solid fuel. We could make solid fuel. I suppose there's sulfuric acid, isn't there, as well? Lube, maybe. Okay. Right, so what else? What else would we be wanting to include here? I suppose we could look at the bot stuff. So construction bots are green and them, and they're red. So that's all fine, but we need them. So you need that. Obviously, then both need... Are they in intermediates? There we go. Flying robot frames. We know we need electric engines in blue machines. But batteries we've already got on the list. Yeah. And then... Yeah, that's all fine then. We need roboports. Robotic ports. Which is just red, steel and... I think we might end up including the red circuits in, you know, in a separate production system. With the green circuits and that. Right, what else? So things like these, I will assume you've got them because you know, they're in that starter base. But I will create a module to make them as well for this base. But we'll do that a lot later on. So you've got the basic inserters. If I'm going to assume stack inserters is like beyond the scale of this base anyway. So we won't have them. You know, we could make more belts. You always need more belts. But if we're doing that, it should be at red belt level. So I have to think about that one. What about logic stuff? Assume we've got lights. Maybe we make concrete. That might be an idea. Because I'm making blooming stone bricks all over the place. Oh, what did I say? Oh, that was... I selected refined, didn't I? It's a tricky one because you need iron ore. So it's better making this where you've got iron ore, which is obviously where your smelting is. Yeah, if you're making it in, you know, introductory levels, as it were. So what about logic stuff? I don't think I'm going to be... I don't generally use, like, you know, smart trains or anything until a bit later in the base. So I think I'm going to... Or do I often... I do hook things up to chests and stuff. They're not that expensive anyway. Yeah, let's add them in. Let's put that there. So it gets you them to start off with. Is that all we want here? We could make tanks, but I think you probably hand make the handful that you need. Obviously, I say pipes, and I've added in pump. In fact, I should do this with the blue machines in case there's something gets missed off. Did I do roboports? Yeah. I say we will make solar panels, but it's going to end up being a tiny volume. You've got them already. Hand make them. Did I put steel furnaces in here? Did I put steel furnaces in here somewhere? Can't see them being done, I think. Steel furnaces. Oh, there they are there. Why have I put it there? Right. I mean... No, I think any kind of uranium processing is probably... Or is it? So... We're doing nuclear... So if we're doing nuclear power, you see it is blue tech. Yeah, I think I am actually going to do that. So You would want to make a few centrifuges. You could make them by hand though. That's not too difficult. Because that's, I mean, and that's why that, you know, another use for concrete. So rather than, you know, because you only want like 2 or 3 just chunking away to get you the basic, you know, the starter, whichever one it is, U238 or whichever. Yeah, so we won't make them in the base. But we could have a module that includes them for you to make. Now, what about modules? Yeah, I think we should include modules. Level 1, speed and prod. Because they're way more useful, and I think even at lower level than people give them credit for. There's a tendency to not use them until level 3. Obviously not satellites or anything. I can't see anything else there that I would want to include. What about intermediates? I say, some kind of solid fuel is tempting. Yeah, let's say we'll have some sort of... What would it probably end up being? I guess it would be petroleum, but we can work that out later. Again, military-wise, is there anything worth making there en masse? Oh, laser turrets, of course. Oops. Yeah, let's make laser turrets as well then. Well, we will include that here. Right, so... It's actually a smaller list of things than I thought it was going to be. Right, how many would we actually want to be trying to do? Because, say, blue is the classic where it goes absolutely bonkers and you need 12 machines to even do 1 a second. But that's our end stop in the production. You know, we're not making them in volume. We're making them literally to get us the couple of techs we need to get to to get to robots. So we need like electric engines. We need, oh, you do need lube, of course. I've not. Electric engines need lube, so that's going to need to be in there somewhere as well. Robots. So you're making robotics, advanced soil processing. So at the very least, all you need is advanced oil processing, lube, electric engines, and robotics. Oh, and I guess the actual robot researchers themselves. But they're very expensive. 350, 425, 475, 500 and odd, 600 and odd. So you would need to make 600 or so. So you probably end up making more blue-related sciences. Because, you know, you're going to want lasers, for example. And you could research, you know, if I'm putting well, no, that's level 2 modules, isn't it? So you don't technically need that. But if you're going to make a tank, you need military 3. And if you're going to do uranium processing, so you're going to need about 1,000 or so, I guess. Maybe 1,500 chemical science. Because what I'm wondering, basically, is how small and can we get away with like a direct insertion, basically. So, have I got labs on my list? I don't think I have. Oh, I must have. There we go. So, you know, can we get away with, say, having some sort of weird arrangement where we feed blue science in directly, like I'm doing on this one? Because, say, we don't need it in any kind of volumes. We're not going to produce it in any kind of volumes. Because what would it look like if this was military? If that was military, you know, we're not going to have a lot of military techs. What we really want the military for is because we're going to make the extra military equipment. Similarly with blue, we want the red circuits and engine units kind of more than we do. In fact, that's a point. I didn't put engine units on there, did I? More than we do the actual blue science. We'll probably end up using like more of those. So it's them as well. So it's some sort of odd arrangement like that. Because what I'm kind of keen on with the science is not ending up with a million bits of... It's quite wasteful, I think, particularly these early starter bases, to have, you know, a belt and it's got the science on it. And I know it acts as a buffer, effectively, but, you know, you've got all of this science stacked up on these belts, and it's got to be produced from stuff. And it's got to be... and it fills up these belts, and then you come along and you want to delete it all. And you've got a stack of science beakers in your inventory that you've got to manually mess about with and all that sort of stuff. Now, what we could do... Could we? Is we could offset one or more of these. Sulfur. So they each have 3 ingredients. Because if I do my usual thing of like this. Now, would we be on... I guess if we put this in... Right, can I do... That's quite a lot of things, isn't it? What I could do is offset one of them or more. Something like that. Could I? Oops. So if it looks like that. And then we have a belt of red and green. Inserters, there we go. Oh, it's not powered, is it? But then you're going to need power for that. So it's something like that? I don't know, I've just been saying it's wasteful stacking them up, but... Well, the other alternative would be to have... like the red and the green there. Because how many of them am I going to make? Because they're very, very similar numbers. I know it's, you know, it's not the same, but they're very, very similar numbers. So if we did aim for, because we're going to need loads more of them than we do blue or military. So if we tried to make them in a bit more volume, what would that end up looking like? So if we wanted... Because we could one-to-one insert them again. Because we've got 6 labs and 6 of everything. How might that work? So, oh, the flashing drives me nuts. Red and green. Could I direct insert these as well? So if this was still like that. So I know it's horrible in terms of, you know, ratios and all that sort of thing, but it's not what we're going for. We're going for compact more than ratios or any of that sort of stuff. So they go there. No, it doesn't quite power everything, does it? So maybe that. Or maybe they reverse. I think we have to assume this is wooden power poles. But how few can we get away with? So if that was... Is there any power? Again, can't tell for the flashing. So is there commonality of... So we've got 4 things there. Three things on that. Crikey. Nah. Doesn't quite work really, does it? Okay, so instead of that... It's just too much to get in via belt, I think, if we do something like that. But I do like the idea of... like direct inserting. Do I do it there and there, or it becomes... Wait a minute. That's that one. No, you don't reach here. I'm just thinking that could be a... Oh no, it couldn't, could it? It's a different one. Just wondering if I can make it tileable. So if that's that... No, it doesn't work. And then we have a belt coming down here. Like so. How do we power that? So we would need one there. One there. Oh, that powers everything. Haha. So these can be red and green. And then we can put things on those. And at the end we can have a, you know, a thing collecting the various bits and pieces. These can be... Oh no, they can't. Oh, he's blonking. What an idiot. So these are the... So that's grey science, isn't it? There we go. I mean, we could... You know, something like that, could we? Or that wouldn't work, would it? So if that was that... No, they're always going to be... Unless I did that. And this can have an input there. Not the prettiest arrangement, but... Oops. I suppose that would be better in a way. You're always going to have one on the bottom. Oh, and that's feeding 2 now. Anyway, so that's not good. Except it's military, so it's much smaller volume. Apologies if they're not particularly interesting. I'm not entirely... I really enjoy this stuff, but I'm not entirely convinced it's that entertaining. But it's what the series is, really. The aesthetic one will return next week, which will be... how have I got them mixed up? So it's only 4 military, four machines making military. So we could have just one belt now. Here you see. Oh. So that feeds that, that feeds that. This one is the output for that one. But it has the advantage, I guess, that we could put some boxes. What? We could use our splitter. Because we want all of these things probably boxed up anyway. Which will we double side? I mean, it also reduces it. We don't have to have a million machines. One of the problems with military is always the grenades. You end up with like 10 machines making grenades. Which huge amount of space and stuff, and then you only use a small amount of them. It's like it's a bit of a pain, really. So what we could do is we could then have, a couple of machines making grenades. Because these take... You get 2, so it's only half a grenade per craft. So it's like half... Well, it's a... No, that's wrong. Half a grenade every 5 seconds. But only half of that. So we could probably end up with like 1 machine making grenades. And it'd probably be fine. So we could have this 1 machine making grenades somewhere. Oh, I picked up the engine one. That one. But red ammo we want in a bit more volume. And that we want in reasonable sort of volume. So which do we put where? We could do the trick, or some version of the trick, where these two are effectively on the same belt. In fact, that might be useful full stop. In fact, no. Let's do that. So you've still got yellow ammo being made. And that ends up being like that. Ah, it's not powered. Oh, that's annoying. I mean, if it was there, it would power everything. Okay, let's go with that then. Right, so what do we want where? So we can put these two on either side of a belt. Because that's just coal and iron plate, and that's just stone brick. And then these two, say we could do the whole one belt. You know, put that on a belt on the belt that goes through. Okay. So iron, steel, and so both of those two use iron, don't they? But I think that's literally the only thing, apart from plastic, using coal. Right, so what about this side then? You need sulfur, red circuits, and engines. Sulfur, red circuits, and engines. I mean, they don't need... I don't think anything here uses blue circuits yet. So we wouldn't actually have to take up to blue circuits. So we don't need sulfuric acid. Oh, well, we do for batteries. So maybe, because sulfur is quite easy to produce in large volumes, and it would have, and we could then use it as an overflow system. We could do the sulfur first. Or, you know, double-side it on a belt, and then it gets turned into... Oh, I didn't put the machine down, but we need sulfuric acid. Oh. Sulfuric acid as well. So it then gets turned into sulfuric acid at the end. Yeah. And then we've got red circuits. And what's the other thing? Engines. Engine. Oh, now saying that though. Because it's useful to have engines as well, I guess. So we could put them on either side of a belt, couldn't we? One of these. They're both very slow. And then that produces those, which we then directly convert into batteries. So batteries will have to go after as well. Which means that the whole robot thing is going to have to be after the science as well. And also, well, it's always useful to put these together so that you know where they are, but so we'll put them afterwards as well. You obviously need batteries for accumulators. Electric engines. That's very tricky because we need them for robots. There's the engines, so we could use the overflow of engines going down here. In fact, also they need... Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? The tricky bit is the lube, because the lube is obviously made from heavy oil. So it means moving the heavy oil around. We could do like a loop, and then whatever's left gets converted into... Oops. Oh, what did I take out there? That was the... No. Lube machine. Gets converted into... In fact... Oh, no. It uses... It used to use a variety of stuff, I think. Didn't it? It used to be like heavy and light together, I think. Flamethrower ammo. So that's a tricky one. That feels like that should be like earlier in the chain. But basically anything that's... keep doing undo. So we'll make that... Yeah, because it's raw oil and stuff. That'll be where we make, you know, the steel and all that sort of stuff. So this then is whatever's left in terms of fluids kind of ends up in solid fuel. So that's like last in the chain. We'll need those to be after red circuits as well. Feels like we may have to have a separate red circuit production. But useful for this to be with these anyway, because then you're just picking them up all at the same time. You need red circuits, don't you? So, if they need red circuits and steel, there. Same with those guys. So it looks like everything's basically going to be after science. I guess they're somewhere at the end as well. So these are, I mean, I'll put them down. That as well can be made in the other factory. What about this lot? Well, that's engines, but we could locally produce those engines rather than use the runoff. Those would be useful as whatever's left of engines type position. You've even got circuits. That's the only thing using stone brick, I think, over here. So, train stuff could be fairly early in the chain. We could make that before the science. And that makes some sense, because you might be setting up a fairly more rail system. Laser's going to have to be after batteries anyway. Those could be fairly early. Those could be fairly early. I think if we're going to make them, we need to make them, don't we? Plastic there, which is also good because that's where the coal for the grenades is going to be used. These guys are so simple to produce, we could put them anywhere really. But we might as well use up that sort of space. So, what I've decided here, effectively, is like the order that I want to produce things in and what I want to put together. And I'm thinking a modular style again. So, as obviously we need to work out this sort of early science thing. But it obviously needs to go in either in there or afterwards. But it makes sense to put it earlier because they're all very low level ingredients for those. But yeah, so I'm thinking again we do something, you know, where is it? Like this system where it feeds in from the top and you can either put them side by side or they fit together, you know, modularly. Yeah, I like that concept. So what do you actually need? You need iron plate, gears. I guess we could think of... Oh, I haven't got them. They've all gone. So if we were getting stuff in... Let's say, maybe we build a different version of this, or you just literally stamp down another one. Maybe there's an extra extension to this that turns the end pieces into outputs. You know, that effectively whatever's left gets recycled around and inserted again in here. And that again, this top end... Because this is going to have... I mean, looking at it, it's going to be bigger than this. But it would be better if it was bigger by being wider rather than being taller. So effectively, I know I don't really do city blocks, but effectively this is, if this is a city block... Oh, I don't know what I undid there. A city block in quotes. I know they're usually square, aren't they? But that's what I mean, as in that fits into a block, a unit, or whatever the heck you want to call it. And it could then be this wide. So effectively this wide. And then that's a square unit, as it were. A city block, I say it's not. It isn't, but we could definitely fit it into that sort of space. But if we do, then it'd be ideal to not have any machines past that point, and to have no more machines. Because what we could do, say, because I'm thinking about the tank again, is we could, but then you could build a tank from just, aren't you? Oh, where does he put vehicles? I really wish they'd rework this. It could have done with more tabs. And like more... Oh, I didn't mean to build it, but it's there. It's red circuits, you see, so, you know. But you could, you could use this garage again. Or maybe I do a thing where I put in a second garage, basically, here. You know, in that sort of space there, or just down the bottom or something. It's just a design flourish, that, really. But yeah, you could have another garage for a tank this time, because you've upgraded. Okay. I like the thought process. Let's see if we can put it together and what it might look like. So we chop. So what's our sort of... If I grab that, that's our sort of limits. There. We need an extra... In fact, if I just copy it across, and get the turrets in. Just want sort of that bit, really, don't we? And then there. So we get rid of... Well, actually, that gives us the input point, basically. So this is where everything will be coming in. I need to grab that out of the blueprint, don't I? So it's... Oh, it's not on there. Must be on that one. Yeah. So say in theory, if everything is in that order again, that would be helpful. Because let's look at it. We're going to need both gears and pipes, I believe. But we're not going to need them in any massive volumes again. Again, we'll need green circuits and steel. There's an argument for making those full belts. Stone and stone brick. We need both of those. Iron plate, copper, and coal. Yeah. So I'm happy to try and work with that. But this time we'll sort of build, it's not this pathetic dribble. The idea is you've done some smelting in proper smelting arrays, because that's what this base lets you do. Where the heck are they? So you've put in some of these, not all of them, but enough to give you a lane of iron plate, a lane of copper. You've got coal left over, because you always have coal left over out of the smelting. You got your greens, and then you're making a bit of steel, because maybe you put a second one of these in and you feed it into a steel array, but it gives you 1/5 of a lane, so you can halve it with the green circuits. You've got a production area for green circuits. That's something we need to work up. Some modular system for that. And then you've got production areas for pipes and cogs. Yeah. Okay, so we need to try and fit it into this area, which is plenty of room, I think. But yeah, if I copy up that, flip it over, so it would be there. Is that that's the top row, isn't it? Yeah. So that's where we can have assemblers and not have problems with connecting everything up. Is that right? Yeah. And then so long as we don't go like below these turrets, we should be fine. Okay. Okay. What first then? So do we just make science first? Is that the priority? And it also gives you more inserters, more things. I think possibly, because I'm going to belt these in, the red and the green. And we're going to, might as well make more of those. But if we combine it with a bit of blue assembly machine production, which is what? I think we'll make the blue... Should we? Now let's make the blueprints be blue machine blueprints. And that's the first thing in the modules. It's sort of more belts. But we should also make like red belts, really. But yeah, the first thing in the chain is this. That will be grey machines, because that's probably all you'll have. But that'll be the first thing in the chain. So we do want to be doing some red belts. But it's like one chest of it. Well, probably make one chest. In fact, what do you actually need? Yeah, we'll just make the belts. We won't make yellow underground. We'll make yellow undergrounds and yellow splitters again. In fact, we'll probably just reuse that module. Because you need millions of them, so we might as well double that up. But it won't have this bit on. Instead, this will be a red belt production. But it will just be the belts, not the splitters. Okay. Do I want to work in this constrained space? Right, so the first thing we want is some kind of manufacturing one like this. But then we can reuse the belts bit. Yeah, okay. So what does this manufacturing bit have in it? It's just these, basically. So it's them. No. Cut and paste. Okay. Ooh, okay. I think technically it's like 2 to 1, isn't it? On the thing. For these, is it? No, 1 to 1. Half a second craft. Half a second craft. No, it's 1 to 1. Okay, cool. But we'll direct insert. You won't. There's no point having upgrading to these, and then they're, you know, you're not doing anything with them. So put that there. That's the power for that. So you need plates, gears, and green circuits. You need more of both of those. And then you just need steel and stone brick. Okay. Okay. I might actually get rid of this and just... If I just sort of cut and paste this and just chuck it somewhere else on the map. Oh. Took the machines away. And then I'll just work and we'll fit it in later on. Right, so that's iron plate. Where's me? So if we ended up with, because we know green circuits and steel are on the same belt, and we know cogs and pipes are on the same belt. And we know iron plate is on a belt. And then that needs steel, but it needs stone brick. So we need stone brick on a belt. So we need that one. So we'll have to... What I did before is I fiddled about with the order. So we'll take your best guess at what it, you know, what it looks like at this stage. And then we fiddle about with it to optimize it, essentially. And then... But what we need to make these is these 4 things. Do I assume people are using spit? Yeah, I think we assume that we're working with fast inserters. We do also need to start with a power pole. Okay, and then the way I've been doing all of these is basically this arrangement here. So then it's just a chest full. It's just a chest full. So you would then have iron plate. So you need gears. So let's get power in so that it stops flashing. Steel, gears, green circuits. So steel. And iron plate as well. But then your steel and your brick. Okay. So if that's brick there, you see. I don't think I need stone for anything, do I? No. Oh, I do. Rail. Okay. And that is what we're thinking about making sort of next, basically. Okay. So if the next sort of module was the rail stuff, what would that end up looking like? So if this... So we know this is the only other thing that needs stone. So if this was first, you know, we could end... Except we know we also need stone brick for the military bit, don't we? So actually, might be better. Oh, might be better if that was last. It does also need... Oh, I was going to blue machine everything, wasn't I? does also need iron sticks. Is there anything here that needs iron sticks? There isn't, is there? Any of you guys need iron sticks? No. No. Okay. So that's the only one where iron sticks are... Oh, no, no, no. Well, no, it's not on them, but the stations do, don't they? Yeah. But I'm not going to make stations, so that's the only place making iron sticks. So that's fine. So either above it or below it, we need one doing that. Well, that means it effectively needs iron plate coming in. But if this was stone, and we also still need iron plate for the sticks, and we need steel. These guys are all iron plate and... yeah, okay. So it's starting to come together a little bit. I keep hitting Control Z rather than Control X. So if those two are into a chest... what was that for? I don't think it was for anything. Well, that needs engines, you see. But we're going to make them locally, I think, won't we? With that. And then you're just your gears. So these would work as the first ones. Maybe we have the the engines there. And then yeah, okay. So effectively it's something like that. Let's just move it down for a moment. So is this a module, as it were? I think it probably is. Yeah. So if we take that then, I'll just take power pod down, and then it's the same things for the time being. Oh. There. So if you didn't want to go blue machine, I mean, the blueprints are all going to be blue machines, but if you didn't want to do that, you could ignore this module. If you didn't want to upgrade to steel furnaces, which is not something I often do, I often go straight from stone to electric, then you could omit that module fairly happily. There isn't a belt production area yet. I'm thinking that's maybe on the side here. But there is production of rail. And it's all the rail that you would ever need, apart from all the bits that it doesn't include. And that's steel, gears and pipes. So all of these continue down. So it still works as a sort of a sort of a module. But that's engines, which are steel, gear wheels and pipes. Steel. So we need one of them in. So that isn't there, but it's there. If you see, I mean, it needs to be there. It needs to be here, really. In fact, that's the point. If I cut that out there, put that there. There we go. So that's like that. That's a module, hopefully. This is the next one, and it could just stick straight on the bottom there, or you could do it the other way around. And this makes engine units, which is more... oh, I didn't put the pipes and stuff on that, did I? Does it need iron plate? No, steel. Yeah. Since that's there, we want this particular little cheeky boy there. Oh, actually, should we consider going steel chest? Now, they're on the end, aren't they? Yeah, let's not do that. Okay, but this needs to be here. So you want steel, green circuits, and engines. Engines from there. Steel there. But your iron plate, steel, and circuits. Cogs. Gear wheels, whatever the heck it decides to call them. But you need steel as well. An iron plate. Okay. Your iron plate and green circuits. That must be both of you. Green circuits and iron plate. Are they both capped at 1? They're both capped at 1. Should I make that 2? Because they only stack to like 10, don't they? No, it's just do 1. And then we want... Oops. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Oh, I do have a few where it is sort of on the end. But it's nicer to have them both together. 2 together. Ah, well. Right, so this requires stone, steel, and those boys. Okay. Oops. So you're there. You're there. That on the end. Now that wants to be a nice big stack. Because if you're going to do rail, you're going to do rail. You're not going to want, 4 bits of rail. You're going to want hundreds of bits of rail. Well, not hundreds, dozens of bits of rail. So stone, steel, iron stick. Iron stick uses iron. Hence the name. What am I missing? Oh, steel. Got a bit doolally with these sometimes. So iron plate. So gears are not technically being used. All pipes are not technically being used here. So in theory that could be chopped off there. But it sort of depends on what I put on next. So my thought then, I say, is basically there's then this module. It doesn't work with the current arrangement of things I've got there. Would I want to rearrange it? Because it's the same basic bits, but in a different order. Now we are going to tweak this because, again, I'm including these because you're going to be using, loads of them, so you might as well have even more. And at the very least, if you've not made this whole thing, this gives you the blue, the belts. But what we don't want is this, really. What have I actually done there? Because that one just makes... I mean, it's got a chest, but it's a bit weird how I've done it. But it's because they're so, slow as grey machines. Because you've actually got 2, but it is storing belts out of all of them, as well as passing them through. It's all a bit sort of clever. Clever, very much in quotes. Too clever for its own good, really. So we would really want this to actually be red belts. I'm thinking you're only using them really to upgrade the iron production, effectively, so that rather than have to build, say, 2 arrays of iron using stone furnaces, you basically upgrade one of them. So you build one and then you upgrade it. You don't bother doing steel furnaces for you know, copper and that. You might also upgrade, but you might also do it for, you might have another one for steel, so that it's a bit, you get a bit more steel out of the same space. Oh, I never did the stone version, did I? But my thought process, there's no special steel production one. It's just you reroute iron. So basically, you know, instead of taking the iron onto your main bus, you just take it and turn it into steel, basically. So you can just reuse exactly the same blueprint. You're just feeding in iron plate rather than raw iron. Obviously, you need 5 of them to fill a belt if that's what you're trying to do. Right, what does this look like? So this then is... It just needs gear wheels. It doesn't need circuits or anything. So it does, you know, it's okay. I mean, what we could do, we could take that down to just the 1 stack. And this is a couple of stacks. Because that's 400 bits of red belt. You know, it's a lot of red belt. In fact, let's take it, leave it at 1. And then this goes up here to make splitters. This one goes down here to make undergrounds, but also fills up. So yeah, I'm happy with keeping that conceptually the same. The question is, do I rearrange these so that it can be added on the bottom or on the side? It would be better if it's added on the side, I think. I think we need something here. I guess... Because we're going to need them for red science anyway, aren't we? Because the other one is obviously the inserters. And that one does, that goes on the bottom. So you tack that on the bottom. So that is identical inputs. So what I'm wondering is actually maybe we do something where one of these, if this was flipped the other way round, this sort of bit, no it wouldn't, because I'm passing them out both ways and you're reusing them, so that doesn't work, does it? But we could do... Because what I'm wondering, basically, is these produce, you know, the things for green circuits. It's also got gear wheels on it. And adding copper wouldn't be too much of a problem. We could have copper down here. So do we effectively have like a side pass out? So it's an extra thing here. And this is basically... You know, we basically have the... We use these, but it has extra outputs to it. Because you see there's yellow on the end there. And I could... Because I can flip some of these over. They don't have to be this orientation. And so if I can get both of these two together, next to each other, we can have like a special bit in the middle that takes out the circuits. Sorry, takes out the belts and the inserters for green circuits, for green science. Get me tongue in gear. And I say, if we also then put copper on this somewhere, we can also make red science. So we can effectively have the belt and inserter production. And I say that's working on an assumption that you've used this to make this base, but you know, this needs upgrading to blue. So this is like one of the first things you could get rid of. Or you keep it, and it's just like giving you the millions of inserters and belts that you need to do it. You know, you replace your chests here with passive providers, because these have full logistics coverage. You know, if we can arrange robobots in this one as well, then the bots would have access to all of this as well. So you could and you could use an upgrade planner and the bots would do it for you. You don't have to find all of the chests. I say that then gives you 2 sets of production of belts and inserters. And I say it also covers you off if you've not made this base. Yeah, I like that concept. And I think, I say, if we can have that, because this is conveniently it's about the same size. So that plus that is equivalent to about that plus that. So we can have them next to each other. So what we need to do is rearrange these so that it can be tiled next to this. How best to do that? I mean, it'd probably be best just to mirror these. Because we basically want copper, say, there. And then it's within easy reach of, you know, the machines making red science. And then we end up with the green science machines, say, here. And, you know, we could stick them on a belt going this way. And this is where we have our science module. Or maybe we need to do it in parallel and they, you know, they both come in, say, in that way and it goes up, or, you know, whatever that ends up looking like. Yeah. So these, and say, because this is, if this is red science production, that gives it access to both of those. If we can rearrange this so that the middle ends up being a yellow belts and a yellow inserters, then we can have green science production here as well. Yeah, so it's this one needs rearranging. So basically, this one, this iron, needs to go where? Like on the inside, and then this needs to go on the outside, and then the gears, etc. one needs to move to there. Is it going to be best on the inside or the outside? Because in theory, if we got the stone bricks, we could also make, like, you know, grey science, you know, with that as well. I mean, that's a little odd. I mean, because I can do like I did with this, where it half belts things and, you know, selectively splits. So we could just have the, oh no, that needs stone brick as well. But that could end, that could be a, you know, I could do a side loady thing to get rid of the stone brick, as it were, or stop the stone brick and not fill this up pointlessly. Or I could just stick the stone brick in a, you know, a chest, you know, because we want the stone now. But equally, I could reverse this, couldn't I? We could have the. In fact, that's probably better. Right. Anyway, let's do that. Getting ahead of myself. So this wants to become these two lanes. This wants to become these two lanes. And now I need to rework what's being inserted where. So, oh no, no, it doesn't. Got that in the wrong place. Like so. So you need iron plate. So you still need both. You still need both, but you need steel rather than, yeah. So you need that one. Yeah. Then you need pipes instead of that, don't you? So you want them. Oh no, you need steel, but you don't need iron plate. Your steel and green circuits. Plus engine units, which are now above you. Or still above you. You need iron plate, steel, gear wheels. So, oh no, you need steel, iron plate. Oh, it's the same things, just different than it was before. Your plates and circuits, so that's actually those two now. You must be the same. Iron plate is now on the right-hand side. And your steel, rather than that, but you do need brick. Not brick, stone. But if we move this up, this sort of unit, as it were. So put that there for the time being. We grab that. Pop it on the bottom. Oops. Pop that there. So now we're making that. So in theory, we could block that off. Because we've got the stone brick there. We've got the stone there. If that ends up with a tiny bit of stone brick on there, it's not really an issue. So we could cut that off. These now would fit tiled next to this. But the order of this is all wrong. It's all wrong, I tell you. All wrong. We do want this to be copper, though. But probably only that far down. In fact, that could be a separate... because none of those use copper, do they? So that could be part of the Red Science module, rather than part of this module. And therefore, that would be like that. Okay, so how do we get this to produce yellow belt and inserters here? This is fine, I think. This is just exactly the same. But with... I mean, obviously it needs to go to blue. Oops. It's this one that needs to change. Now, how does this change? I think... because this one is... This thing here is being used in both directions. So I think if I put this at the top, so that one becomes the top and this one becomes the bottom, but flipped over, or upside down rather, then that gets me what I'm after. I think I might lower the caps on these. Because in theory, I say this is where, you know, you've already made all this stuff. If you haven't, then that's fine, but, you know, you would have to change the chests. So what we'll do with this, we'll have both parts. So if I move this down to show it's separate. But that obviously overlaps, so you've got that there. So I'll have to rearrange that a bit, I think. But I mean, we need to do something funky with that anyway, because I mean, we'll have copper coming down here in theory. But it's going to output on either side, basically. Oh, we also need to upgrade. So we're now talking... in fact, let's do that with a... oh, that's already got it on. Oh. Wait, that didn't do anything. Oh, it's just the other way around. Yellow to blue, please. Thank you, my botty friends. Oh, you kind of almost saw them then. The super mega speed bots. So let's think about this. So if this is blueprint 1, and this is... I guess we could just have that on for the time being. And then... we'll just do this, say, time being, do that. And this is drains. Let's just do a bit of railway. And then on the side you can put the new version of belts. So let's call that red belt. And the new version of inserters, which we'll use a blue inserter for. Okay. Next question then is how much? How much? Well, that's just a good question, full stop. But how much red science are we actually going to make? Is this, do we go for about 1 a second? Or maybe we just, how many would fit in? So if I just put, you know, red circuits on there, red beakers on there, and it's say 4 to start with. Can I also put some green boys on? How many? Because what we could do, it's a bit weird, but we could arrange it so that, because that's gears, isn't it? So it's irrelevant for this. But this could be the, so this, that would have to have that there. So it's there. So this is the, in fact, so effectively that's like that. And then it's, I say it's a bit other way around, please. And then this is inserters come. Oh, can't power it. Could I rearrange this in some way? So this is getting its copper. This is getting its gear wheels. That does give both of them, but there's no power for that. Because this then makes it the same size as this, which is kind of convenient. Because we could potentially, you know, put this sciencey bit here, maybe, or you know, put say something that feeds in like next to it. Because that actually copper. Maybe that's not how I do it. Maybe instead. Because copper could be used for these. Copper, steel, and level 1. So we would need... But maybe it just feeds past. Could I arrange this in some way that... So say you've got the copper belt there. Because I think... Don't these use copper? Not them. Yeah. They use copper. That's pretty much it. Oh, I guess the batteries do as well. That's another option we could stick in somewhere. Because copper's going to have a lot more use in this build than it did in the other one. I know, I just quite like the idea of having these all in the same size module as this. And then we could put something on the side of this as well. But I don't know what, because it doesn't use any of the... we'd need more of these. I mean, we could always, like, longhand this across. And that would let us bring something else in here, like them. Oh. So we could have, you know, something else here. And then that output's either there or, you know, we do some undergrounding. Because you're hopefully going to have plenty of undergrounds if you've made the other base. So we've got options, you know, going right the way across to there or there or whatever. So this could be a red sciencey thing here. Meeting green science here, or maybe they both need to go that way, or depends on the other build. Maybe they both go down on this lane. But does that mean if that's there, so if that's effectively there, you know, it's not going to reach over. No, I don't think it's quite going to work in the tidy way that I want, really. Oh well, it's not a problem. We could always build something else in there, maybe. What would be a good fit in there? Because this has got gear wheels, pipes, and copper. Is there anything we'd like? A couple of machines, gear wheels, pipes. Is it a place to put? No, that's not right. Gear wheels, pipes. Is that it? Gear wheels, pipes, and copper. So I'm tempted to put these in. Because that's stone break. That's coal. It's the only point of coal coming in. But then how would that work? Because we need to feed them in. So I'm currently thinking this goes like, say... I accidentally grabbed the sulfuric acid, but it goes either, you know, this way or this way, and it's plopped along the side. Because we're close to the bottom. I mean, we're not, because we've got a bit of space there, but we're relatively close to the envisaged bottom. So if this, you know, this sciencey thing here, I mean, it could be, I could flip it round as well. So then we would be feeding down. I think I'm just going to have to take it as what it is, really, and it's going to be a bit messy, this. But then we try and do sort of military bits, and say we'll flip this round, maybe. Nope. Oh, I can't flip chemical plants. Because these are completely different. You know, this is, well, it's engines, but, you know, it's red circuits, sulfur, so that's not been used in any of this stuff. But these are military and grenades and that sort of thing. So potentially that could fit in here, and that maybe does, that either feeds up or down, you know, in these. So in other words, this is the red. Oh, well, yeah, something like that. I mean, I could, you know, we could squish the military and whatever, or do it differently, or, you know, we could spread these out and put another line of the red and green going this way. So we've got options there. But it would be nice to put the military in this sort of space, and then it feeds into, you know, say these are the military two, you know, the red ammo and yellow ammo could go down this lane somehow. That might be a little tricky. Well, it could be the other way up, couldn't it? And we could sort of take the ammo down and then back up again, maybe? That's a bit weird. Anyway, would be nice to put these in here. When I say this, sort of at the bottom of this. And then we have... I've done them. Have I done them? Not really. I suppose I've done the red. So how am I going to do that then? I think this one just has to be undergrounded. What's that coming down there? That's iron plate. Oops. Was it? Well, it can be whatever I want. But copper, iron plate, but we do need steel again. I could always half belt that. We could have my special sticking together. Because I don't need green circuits at all, do I? No, I don't need green circuits at all. Because that's iron plate, coal. Could we half belt it with some coal, maybe? So I've got copper, steel, magazines, which are iron plate. So we need somehow to get coal to these as well. So this needs iron plate, steel, copper. So it does need one of them, but only one of them. And obviously the copper. I mean, I need... if it's going to be alongside this, I need gears and pipe anyway. I mean, they don't use any of those, which is fine. But this effectively... So this has got to be the copper. And this has got to be the bottom... Oh, hang on. That needs to be more like that, doesn't it? Oh, that's annoying. So if that was somewhere else entirely, then how could I do that? Because these aren't going to stick together, because this is there and that's there. So what we would really need to do... Oh, that's horrendous, isn't it? That doesn't work at all. But we could have a, you know, halfway thing, as it were. So basically that would need to be the power point there, and then it does overlap, you know, tile properly, but it means these aren't powered. Which is annoying. I've been keeping a pattern of having them, the inner belt collection being in the middle one and the outer one being the bottom one, which I've not fixed there. It's no biggie, but that's fine. But then I can stick them two together. Okay. Oops. So what we need to get in here is stone, brick and coal. They're the sort of two weird things. Because we've got stone brick sort of ends there. Yeah, I don't see any utility in... Yeah, that'll just have to be... We'll have to do two branches, you know. Which is fine, because we only need iron... We only need stone there anyway, so... That's fine. So what we need is another... This needs to be like coal and brick. And it needs to be brought down, but without actually sort of interfacing with it, if you see what I mean. So it's got to go all the way down. Would it be better for it to be at the top then? It might, you know, it might be better if this was at the... Maybe even flipped over? Upside down, rather? Not flipped over. How would that work? So it would need to be aligned with that. And that would give us space at the bottom. And then the military stuff is up the top, and it's more priority then anyway. Does mean bringing... I mean, I'm bringing those down anyway. The cogs for the and the copper anyway. For the red science. Yeah, let's do that then. Okay. So this flips round as well. Because I say it, and then it also puts the sort of priority on the military stuff as well. So that basically is there. Except not. That needs to be that one there, doesn't it? So this would be the module. Oh, it's too low. Could I shove it up a bit? Possibly, because we're not going to need that much space for this. So maybe it's some odd arrangement where... Or maybe the red science is above still. Yeah, I'll have to think about that in a moment. Oh, crikey, it's 6 o'clock. Because what we can have, you see, is a belt that brings those two in and feeds these, and it's just exclusively at the top, and they just eat that belt that is this combination. Because we're going to need coal for plastic, so I can't just get rid of... I can't just like half belt this or something. We need coal to be going to plastic, which is going to be after this. But we don't need stone brick. So what we can have is this... We need stone brick on and stone on this one, but we can just have, you know, I can filter it in some way. And we just have stone coming, just having stone brick going past it. And I could maybe do a, you know, a split of, you know, there's the coal that goes on for plastic, and that, and I combine it here maybe, and that's what gets over here. But basically, this becomes a, at some point, becomes a half and half. And then that gives you that and that. We know we need iron plate anyway, do we? Yeah, we need iron plate for them. So this is like there. This needs to be on this side so it's got access to the copper. And don't we need... I mean, we need like 3 of them anyway. I'm kind of fed up of making wall machines. I've got about 4 of them now. No, 3. So I don't know that needs to be in any kind of volume. It's morphed to get it for grey science. And then this thing here could be a bottom module, as it were. Now. And these are made here and fed in the top. And these are made in whatever way. And, fed in the top or the bottom. Excuse me. Yeah, because these aren't going to take up all that room. So I need to do some sort of weird... I think we'll end up with this still being red at the top. Oops. Right, this in some way. But the greens are now... Or something. Maybe the greens are a bit further down. And we just, lets me snake it round in some way. And still get these. And we may be able to add an extra green machine on. Yeah, I like that concept. But it is 6 o'clock. The timer absolutely flies. I love doing this stuff. My apologies if it's the most boring stream you've ever watched, or maybe I don't know if there's anyone watching, but my apologies. But I absolutely adore doing this. Designing stuff, but I do know that a lot of it's like churning away in my brain basically, and it's like I'm pre-thinking that's not going to work because I know I've just played this game for so many hours that I know that arrangement isn't going to work, and so I'm thinking it through without actually explaining it to you guys. So I say apologies if it's not that interesting. I think the end results are interesting. I think seeing the this is how I'm going to do it is interesting, but so I'm not convinced. It'd be quicker if I knew what my final design was, or it'd be more interesting, I think, final design, and I could just explain it in a build, which is why I want to do this as a YouTube series as well. And I could just, this is the design, here it is, here's the logic to it, etc., etc. Rather than the thinking process. But maybe there is someone watching and they've enjoyed it. I don't know. So I keep the numbers hidden, so it doesn't play on my mind that whether anybody's here or not. But yes, so 6 o'clock. So I will be continuing this tomorrow. We didn't get anywhere near finishing this. In fact, I don't know that I'll even finish this tomorrow. If we do finish tomorrow, then I will move on to working the equivalent of this out. What it'll probably be, say the assumption will be is you will put in, you'll use this to put in the smelting or some smelting. It may not be smelting in its final form, but it'll be significant production so that you get, a belt of iron plate, a full belt of copper, and whatever. So what we need is to work on the bits that are the production of gears and pipes. That's probably a temporary thing. I don't generally bus gears and pipes. I make them locally. But we need to make iron plates. Say steel, I would just envisage you looping iron plate back and making steel. But we could do with making a half-size one for stone brick, because stone brick is half-size because you use two. I mean, you can increase the belt. You can make it red belt on the outside, but basically one stone brick uses 2 bits of stone, so you can't actually support a full-length one of these. So we need a half-size one. We don't need one, but I want to put one in. But yeah, the theory would be you're making these really from your starting smelting array. So there's not going to be a proper production thing, but we could do with something. Well, what we could plan out because you could just use a green circuit production area. So we need to plan out one of those. But everything else, like the small amount of plastics and whatever that we're going to use in here, will be localized. So I don't think we'll do because what I'm planning is to test this with an actual playthrough of the exact same map with using these blueprints, but obviously outside of creative mode. So I don't think we'll do that tomorrow. That'll be like a later stream. Next week, I'm planning to go back to the aesthetic Factorio build. So maybe I'll end up with a half and half stream where I do that. Depends how. I doubt we'll finish this tomorrow. But what we could do is maybe move on to like rail designs, something like that. Something a bit more neutral. Start designing stations. Because again, what I'm thinking is like a modular system again, where it's, but particularly for something like train unloading. Have I got, there we go. Because what I always do, and it's a bit daft, is I do the whole, do the whole 6 chest unloading thing with trains. And it's a bit daft because you end up with staggering amounts of material sat in chests, and I often do it both sides as well. So I want to have some different options for unloading smaller volumes, basically. And there are all sorts of ways of doing it. And I always come up with different designs and stuff anyway, so it's all a bit daft. So standardise some of that. So yeah, so if we do finish this, we'll move on to trains, I think. But yeah, that's it for today. I should put up my schedule, which is there. So this is me. I'm Trismegistus. If you're seeing this for the first time, you can find me on Twitch, and obviously you can follow that there. But I also have a YouTube channel, which is the same username, but it's alias to Triggles because I think that's a bit easier to say. But you're looking for Trismegistus or Triggles on YouTube. I also have Twitter. I don't really tweet very much, mainly just to announce the streams going live. Schedule for the week, we did Dyson Sphere program yesterday, where I was taking a bit of a first look at the new stuff. The new stuff is awesome in Dyson Sphere program. Did a bit more of a look after the stream, and it's really good. So on Monday we may start implementing some of that. What I need to do is find the diffraction gratings again. I forgot whatever it calls it, the purple crystals. I've not got any of them in my local system, so we need to go and find them again so we can make these new miners. But yeah, so Dyson Sphere program on Monday. Tomorrow's stream, as I say, same time again, will be on the blueprints. Yeah, so if you have been watching, thanks for doing so, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and you might consider coming back for another one. I've been Trismegistus. This has been Factorio. Thanks for watching. Cheers.